What's the hardest thing about being a medium? Whether you're looking to go pro or you're just wanting to develop your skills for your own benefit, I'm sharing the top 10 things that I sometimes struggle with as a medium in the hopes that if this resonates, you'll feel a little less alone. If you haven't subscribed yet, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button and the bell. That way you'll be notified anytime I release a new video, including recordings of my readings, how-tos, meditations, and more. When I first came into my gifts, I was on a high, mind blown, just so excited about everything that was possible. And as I got further into my journey, as with everything and anything that's worth doing, I ran into some challenges. Let's dive into these 10 challenges that some mediums have. Number 1, coming out as a medium and/or how it affects your relationships with those around you. Everyone's experience is very different, and I feel pretty lucky overall that my friends and family really offer me a lot of support. But coming out as a medium and finding the right time to share about my gifts was not easy. There have been a few really important people in my life who needed some extra time to process, I will say, and the distance that I felt between us during that time was extremely painful. I share this just so you know that you're not alone if you've had that circumstance as well. I had a funny conversation with my mom. She asked me, how would you feel if I told you that I was a medium? And I immediately said to her, I would be extremely concerned about your mental health. And so it was a really great way for her to be able to say to me, it's not that I don't believe you. I totally believe you. I know you have high integrity. I know you would never lie about this, but it's still really hard for me to wrap my mind around it. And my response was, I know, me too. And that's true, that there are still days where I might give a reading and then afterward feel like it was such a mind-bending experience for me too. Number 2, every reading is different. And if you want to be a medium, you're just going to have to get used to it. Spirit always will give you new challenges as soon as you're ready. For me, no two spirits, no two readings have ever been the same. Some spirits use my symbols, some don't. Some answer my questions, some won't. Some give me more literal images and imagery, some work more clairaudiently. And when I say spirit gives us new challenges, it was a while before I read for a grieving mother who had lost a young child who was just around the age that my daughter was at the time. That was an incredibly difficult experience, but I had felt that it was coming and I was prepared at the time to be able to do that. You can have readings where you are just bam, 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 one after the other, accurate pieces of validation. And then in the same reading, a new spirit will come in, or the next hour in another reading, and it's hard to receive spiritual impressions from them. What happens to me sometimes is I just can't hear them clairaudiently as well as I tend to during a reading. Be prepared that while you may have one experience during a reading, it's never going to be the same again. Number 3, mediums really struggle if they're perfectionists. There's not a lot of room for perfectionism in mediumship. Why do I say that? Because it is a lifelong journey of learning and development. Mediums never stop learning, growing, and becoming more attuned. Perfectionism comes from the ego. The ego isn't always a bad thing. But if you're going to practice mediumship or even sit with a medium, there will be readings that might not be perfect, but will still provide the healing necessary. I had a reading not long ago where I'd been on the phone until 1 a.m. sorting out a personal issue with a loved one. I was exhausted the next day. I was on 4 hours of sleep, and I had a really important reading coming up that I'd actually already rescheduled one time. I knew it was going to be an emotional reading. I knew it was going to be a heavy reading. And could the reading have gone even better had I had my normal night's sleep? Probably. Was it still full of powerful validations for my sitters? Yes. Was it as good as I wanted it to be? No. Was it good enough? Yes. Other times you bring through all kinds of incredible evidence, but you don't get that code, that special thing that your sitter wants to hear, or maybe they had a question that goes unanswered. Sometimes spirit doesn't want to answer certain questions. As a medium, we're working hard and spirit is working hard to give these spiritual impressions that we have to translate and interpret. And they work off of our frame of reference. Your frame of reference may be limited in some way, but very expansive in another. And so you might be really great at naming causes of death or ways that people had passed to the other side, but you may know absolutely nothing about animals. And so you can't say the kind of dog specifically. You just have to do the best that you can. Sometimes I get the code and it's so powerful, and other times I bring all kinds of incredible validations. But that one thing my sitter was wondering, I just don't know the answer to. And if you have what feels like a dud reading, it happens and it sucks. But reschedule, refund. I think the thing to keep in mind is how often does that happen? You want to have a really high percentage of sitting with people and being able to just about every time bring through powerful validations. There may be another factor in the mix. After all, there are a lot of unknowns about mediumship, and sometimes a certain spirit is more difficult to read. Number 4, your mediumship will never stay the same as time goes on. I remember one week I was just flying with this tool of using a clairvoyant family tree. In fact, I picked up this new skill and I just, for the next month, was just identifying the sitter and seeing that family tree so quickly right at the start of every single reading. After a month of that, I wasn't seeing the family tree at all. I was just getting a sudden download and knowing Dad's here. I wasn't even feeling this father clairsentiently yet. I just knew instantly, claircognizantly, who it was. And so my tools were differing. Sometimes during a reading, I will hear the relationship to the sitter, aunt, grandmother, mother, best friend. And then all of a sudden I won't hear and it will switch back to the family tree. For a month, I got tons of people whose parents were divorced and wanted to talk about it. During 1 week, I had 2 ex-lovers named John. I've noticed that spirits who come through sometimes come through in themes over a day or the course of a week. But one thing I know for sure, mediumship is a lot like being a parent. As soon as you think you've got it down, everything changes. Now, this doesn't mean that as you go forward, you don't build confidence, you don't increase your toolbox, you don't have a plethora of ways of being able to interpret what you're receiving. And so, does it get easier? 100%. Do you get more confident? Yes. But do you realize that you have to become more flexible and have a larger toolbox to be able to speak to various spirits and accurately and consistently? Yes. Number 5, haters and naysayers. There will always be people who don't believe you, won't believe you, even hate you for doing this work. I've been lucky in the way that my previous career was as an online marketing strategist, and I ran that business for quite a while. And so after I'd built a certain size following, I got used to haters and naysayers, and it helped me thicken my skin. I learned to ignore them for the most part. That being said, I am still a human, and rude, mean, hateful comments still hurt my feelings sometimes. But at the end of the day, it's not my job to convince anyone that this work is real. And I know that in my heart, the purpose of this work is good, that it is about connecting people. And I see that it creates not hate, not fear, but courage and more love in people's lives. And because of that, I do my best to not make extra time to worry about the people who don't want to believe this work or can't believe this work. What's the hardest part about being a medium for you? Or if you're not a medium, what are your challenges when it comes to your own spirituality or spiritual work or spiritual gifts? Comment below. I've had so much to say about each of these challenges that I've decided to make a part 2 video for the last 5 challenges I think are common for most mediums. In the meantime, if you're interested in strengthening your clairs so that you can speak to spirit, please download my free guide below, 3 easy exercises to strengthen your clairs and speak to spirit. There's meditations included that will help you develop your mediumistic skills. And be sure to check out this video next Of course, if you like this video, I'd love for you to give it a like, comment below, feel free to share it with anyone else who you think would enjoy it, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so that you're notified next time I release a new video.